As having this be my every moment life, sometimes I have some of the most interesting scenarios happening at once. Because knowing how hard everything that I'm saying to people is to believe, I literally cannot take out of my mind that I am God itself and that everyone else is too. All I did is I met the invisible side creator that did this. And he appeared to me in any way I wanted to see him, or her, or it, or that, or us. So there's this weird scenario that is really happening, but it's so hard to explain. Since I know what everyone's been doing, when I come out to the world, in a way, the world will meet me in the middle. There'll be tons of people who's like, oh, we knew that, and we knew that. Oh, and we've heard of that, and we knew that too. And that's not a surprise. And yeah, we knew that. And yeah, that's a surprise. No, not really. I can get where you got that from. That doesn't mean that you met what God is, the creator on the other side, the whatever. And I'm like, the other side is inside all of us. When you die, you just go back to what's inside all of us, and it's right here in front of your face, outside of your face. Like literally, God is touching your eyeballs. Like in a way where if somebody had their finger on your eye and you were like, please get your finger off my eye, it's more intimate than that. God is allowing the blood to run through your veins. If you slap yourself on the arm, that's the ability that your body is able to have that from the other side you don't. So when you get on that other side and you feel all the feelings and have experienced all the experiences and been through all the lives, you can't be bullshitting people. I know what Bill Gates is doing. The only issue is I don't know which time this is that he's done it, because I've been through them all. And the way I can show you what I mean by that is that all the numbers and letters and dots and symbols and slashes and everything add up to what I wrote down. And now I'm just writing it back out so I can show people how it all began. And this is really like going from the beginning to the end, but it's not like the end, it's just the end of the illusion. It's the end of us being confused all the time. Now, let's say, for instance, people that are meditation leaders, nothing against them. Great, they're trying to get people pumped. They're good-hearted people. But what they don't see is that even with their good heart, even with their helpfulness, even with as great as they are to people, like some of them will act really nice and really nice to you in front of your face, but then they'll be like, fuck those people, I don't care. But at the same time, some of those people have tempers, have the ability to lose their cool every once in a while. So they'll say one thing, they'll be love and joy and peace and love and joy and peace, right? But the ones that are teaching master classes on how to, let me think how to word it right, manifest your dreams and desires, If you manifest your dreams and desires and you picture in your mind you want money and houses and cars, and you think to yourself, it's really no big deal if I manifest monies and houses and cars. No, it's not bad at all, especially if we use cryptocurrency, then it's invisible money and then blah, blah, blah. Well, even if we have invisible money, there's people that are going to make it so you have to pay them to have that stuff. And we actually have to get to a world where if people want that kind of stuff, one step, here's one. Do everything you're doing without getting paid for it, because it's what you feel you're meant to do with your life. Okay? Now, the weird thing is, from my exact Dan Alexander pinpoint location, every person that I meet, their name fits exactly what they're doing. But what I know is because of the way it meets my name, when I try to explain it to other people, it won't meet their name that person added up unless they put their name as Daniel Jared Alexander. That's what's weird. It's like a code in the math problem. And it's all mathematic in my birthday. It's all mathematic in everything. It's been pointing to me since the day I was born in this lifetime. But that's because I've done this so many times that the numbers change around and the letters change around. And now when I look at my address, I know it's 11591, but that's like 11 kinetic. 5 is energy. And then 9 is infinite. It's I. And then 1, it's I. It's another kinetic. So it's like kinetic, energy, kinetic. But people don't see that because they'd be like, well, you'd have to add it all together. Or you'd have to say 11,591. And I'd say, no, you can do everything with numbers. You can add them together. Like if you had 17, 16, and 15, you could add those 3 numbers and then simplify them. You could go 1 plus 7 plus 1 plus 6 plus 1 plus 5, and it would still be the same thing because believe it or not, folks, unless you can't remember that numbers and letters are just things we write down to figure things out. And no matter what we do, we're bound to the way we communicate. So it's not just the numbers and letters, but since we started writing them down, we pictured those figures that way. So when we picture those figures that way, they become more symmetrical. And the world is becoming so aligned with our thinking, even though our thoughts and our hearts and our feelings aren't with it. We're all super intelligent just for our bodies to be able to understand what we're doing with the materials and with the minerals and all that. And they're not mad at us. It's just we're killing it. That's the thing. They're not mad at us, but we're killing it. So in order for it to survive, it's got to send out, just like our body, we don't see inside our body when you have a cold, that your body sends out little antibodies to kill it. Okay? And it's like, you wouldn't think, well, there's a war going on inside me and I'm rooting for one side or the other. But that's inside you. When you feel sick and you notice that you're sick, yeah, you're rooting for the side of the healthy side. But when you don't know that you don't know that there's something going on in your stomach, every moment something's digesting, something's eating something inside you and making it into something else. So it's mixing, like dough and batter and sugar and water and stuff like that. It breaks back down and it mixes and your body molds into shape. Just like, and along with your thought, you look around and you see people around you, you morph with it. Like when apes and stuff like that started transforming, it was because of the fruits they ate, the limbs. Like, do you notice that the monkeys that swing all around limbs are the ones that are used to vines and stiff trees? That's because their bones and their whatever, they didn't think in their developing brains that they had a possibility of having hard, stiff bones and walking upright because they're just getting used to coming from the ground. But what's the weird thing is, as a monkey, we're a human being looking at him thinking, well, a monkey couldn't have thought to himself, I wish I could stand straight up like that guy over there. They were more or less coming from the animals that were always on all fours or on many, many legs that crawled all over the place, because those things didn't know any better either. They were developing mentally with their brains and all their body parts and all those things. And as each one built, it had to figure out in its mind what it would do to go further. Like right now, we don't think we're people who can concentrate on, if you were a larva, what inside that larva tells it to now turn into a butterfly where its legs disappear and it gets 2 or 6 big legs and then it sprouts some wings. Don't you know that in a way, all those mini antibodies work together almost like people building buildings? Building up big skyscrapers. 25,000 people worked on this skyscraper altogether from the beginning to the end, but none of them really thought that without all of them, there was a piece missing. So all of them were just detrimental pieces. It was all kept down on record. It was all kept down in factual stuff. Numbers and digits and numbers and digits. Got to keep track of people. The more we did that, the more we set a pattern into motion. Just like the deepest one is the patterns of your speaking, the patterns of your talking. If you saw somebody every day and you said, hi, how are you doing? You look like you're doing well today. I hope you have a great day. If you're like that and you're pleasant and they are negative, that may never change. But if they're just going up and down with mood swings, like if they're a person who's just a calm mood and you come in, they're going to want to see that guy more than they want to see a guy who's belting at him like, hey, buddy, get out of my way. There's volumes, there's emotional frequencies, there's just sensual frequencies. You can tell when somebody's really feeling good. Sometimes you can look at them and you can just see the smile on their face and you can see them glowing. And there's other times that you can just feel the energy around somebody. Like everybody always says they feel my energy. And when I was younger, I didn't think that was serious, like feel my energy. Well, yeah, you heard my songs and stuff. And because of my songs or because of what I was saying or because of my outgoing nature at the time, like it filled them with laughter. It filled them with smiles. It filled them with joy. That's what makes people tick. And when you feel happy, you can actually do anything with yourself. But unfortunately, back to the people that teach these meditation classes, they're teaching people to fantasize and see their dreams and see their whatever, but at the same time, we've developed from minerals and things like that that need certain ways of lifeblood, okay? And we're tapping into its oil, we're damaging it, we're hurting it, and we're detoxifying it, and we live on it. It's not like just this dumb, stupid rock that we're standing on. We're not just the third rock from the sun. We're a big, living ball of mud and water, dirt and water. This is dirt and water. Don't you understand? Dirt and water. You're standing on it. Your house is built on it. It's just a different density of the water that's clear. And when in the water that's clear, you see there's dirt down at the bottom of it. And sometimes when it stirs up, there's dirt in it. And then it settles back down. And then sometimes you see the sun come out and dry the water. And sometimes those holes that were once water are now empty because they've dried. And then that dry land turns into stuff that starts growing, not algae, but now plants. But they're both plants. One's just one underwater and one's over water. Or out of water. So then if you think about what's happening there, it's heat and cool, and heat and cool, and heat and cool. And what we do as a united people is stop fearing everything and stop thinking everything's going wrong. That's the first step. Second step, actually working together. And here's the hardest one, the kicker. We have to. The heat that we're producing in this physical world, the heat that we're producing from our combustible engines causes heat. Heat rises, melting or loosening something that's not frozen, but it makes it so that if something, have you ever seen an ice cube sitting on a desk or something flat, and if sun comes out, it'll start moving, and then if it got cold again, it would freeze right there. And if the sun came out again, it would start moving, and if it got cold again, it would freeze right there. And the same kind of thing. Now, if you can visualize this, I'm not trying to give you a stupid example this isn't just a stupid example. This is really good. Because basically, if you were a big hunk of ice, the sun started melting, eventually a big hunk of ice would have a pond around it with ice floating in it. And then you'd have another big hunk of ice with a pond around it with something floating in it. Then you have a big hunk of ice, and then water would melt, and then there'd be more water, and then the same kind of thing. And we've got Antarctica, and we've got Greenland, and we've got stuff like that. Well, those are on the outskirts, okay? Those are on what we look at as the outskirts of our globe. There's a lot of hidden stuff, and I can't tell people because I don't want anyone to get angry and come killing me for telling secrets until they're ready to come out and tell them themselves, because that's not Dan's job to do. Dan's job is to teach people love. Dan's job isn't to go around ratting on everybody that did everything wrong, because I did it. It was my fault. Like, people won't understand when I say, yeah, you are in control of your thoughts and you can actually say yes or no to stuff. But all these thoughts and ideas and digital things and things that are wavelinking through the air, and it's not just digital, they're vocal patterns. In this physical world, everything is physical. Everything is physical. Everything matters. Even the air people breathe out holds something in it. And those vibrations land on things. Those vibrations cause things. If you could really think of how that works, okay, you breathe out and you can't see that moisture. It's the opposite way of an ice cube that's solid. There's an ice cube that's solid, and then the sun melts a little bit, and it moves a little bit, and melts a little bit, and then it gets cold again, and it settles back out. And you go, oh. And people are like, we want the world to be warm all the time. We can't. In a physical world, we don't live that way. We have to live in a place where it's a balance of light and dark, of hot and cold. And if we keep striving to live on tropical islands, that's one fiending, yearning thing. Some from the fire and some from the cold. Eskimos and islanders, they're the same thing, but one was cold and one was hot. And they're both native wherever they are. Not Native Americans. They're native wherever they are. They're nature. They're nature, IVE instead of URE. It's IVE. That's the identity of vital expression. That's when they started, when they're native. That's what it means. Nature's not this unit of reoccurring expression. Nature is what we say it is. No, it's not. Nature's what it's been doing because of how we act and what we do. Like little microscopic organisms don't go around wanting to get a car and spend some money and go and doing all this. And as much as you want to be like, well, I'm not a microscopic organism. Just in our eyes, we're not. We're microscopic. We're smaller than microscopic. We are not anything to do with this body. The body changes completely, and you on the inside are all you'll ever be. So when you're hugging somebody or shaking somebody's hand, your spirit, your soul is the only thing touching. That's just sensation in a body. Your spirit and your universal oneness soul is the only thing that's alive. When I touch you and you touch me, that's the only time that we're ever both alive. Other than that, we're both God separated. And as soon as two things touch each other in God's world, you have to realize that's you, that's God on God. When you just feel your feet touching the ground and realize that you change, your body keeps morphing, and you add, like say you see bread in a pan and you added some flour and some water and some milk, or whatever ingredients you throw in there, and you mix them up, and you're like, I just made this into this thing, and then I added some heat, and then I had some cold water, and then I had this, and I had that, and I eat it hot, and then it goes into my body, and I use the nutrients out of it so I can abstract them, and then sometimes I have cold things, so they'll go in my body, and they'll warm up to a certain degree. Like, you don't realize that that's happening when you see it in an oven, in a mixing bowl. That's one thing, but when you put it in your body, and you start realizing that your brain is the mixing the mixing apparatus, you direct things with your mind. Now, when you have pure, clean plant kind of things, pure, clean water kind of things that aren't toxified, they still speak with their normal language. Everything speaks with the language of love. Everything. Plants, if you love them, they want you to want them. If you are like harvesting them to use them for marketing reasons and make a lot of money and just rip off the American public so they can shovel it down their face, we're using its energy to grow food and kill it and toxify it. And then we're making it produce more, just like we do with cows, making cows produce milk, calves, and chickens, we're making them produce eggs, and we're taking them all. Guess what else is happening? We're doing that to our own earth. We're farming the soil, and we're raping the soil of all of the stuff because we're putting chemicals on it, and we're making it grow faster. We're trying to speed the earth up. So time is speeding up because in a way we're shrinking and expanding at the same time. And that doesn't make any sense to anybody because we are this buoyant ice water heat fluctuation of 7 different categorized elements that we can use the colors to try to explain. But then you also have white, and you also have dark, and then you also have all these, or like white, and you have black, and you also have all the different ones in between, like beige. The way we named things was great because it's specific. It makes things specific. But if you don't realize that those just were ways that we could learn ourselves better, that every single one of it was that living essence of God. Anything you're looking at is God. You're noticing it because you have livingness in you to be able to notice it. And if it has something in it, you should be like, it's in you too. How do you do this? Because I look at the floor and the floor is not moving and breathing and talking to me. But I look at the floor and I say, hey, floor, are you Ripley? Because it's got a ripple in it, and I think to myself, well, yeah, no, of course I'm Ripley. If the floor could talk, it would say, yeah, I'm Ripley. So when we were little kind of creatures, we had really, really immature or just not even vocal, you can't put these thoughts into words. So you would be crawling, you would feel and think something, and you would contort your body to do it. And over time, with the food you added and the right kind of thing and the right kind of thought, you grew. And there was a point where all things needed was water. All things needed was water and heat, because the heat gave something of a different sensation. One pulls one way, one pulls the other. If you didn't have something pulling you either way, you would just stay centered. So in a way, we started from an invisible spot where sound and heat pulled us back and forth till we made light marks in the dark. Friction, basically. We started in a state of friction and like no physical friction. So that makes no sense, but it was like beyond air friction, beyond space friction, like in friction. It was incredible. Really, it was. It is incredible. So think about it that way. It's not in freaking or in inferencing. It was just informing. And informing was from thought. So from thought came this wonderful thing that enabled us to have this kind of feeling. Because if the sun felt burning, like we would think, the sun must be really hot up there. It's on fire. But of course not, because the sun is fire. The sun is made of what we call fire. But then, literally different senses happen in different bodies. And skin is skin. Nerves are nerves. Cells are cells. And living things are living things. Now, we know there's a difference between the way a plant's leaves are, and we know there's a difference between the way an animal's skin is. We know how our skin feels. That's what an animal feels like. And I know because I've been them, all of them. You know how many billions and jillions and gagillions of times I've died. That's the truth. The weirdest thing is, since we're in time, people can't fathom it, because they'd be like, if you lived that life and then died, and then that life and then died all at the same time, and then did it again, and did it 100,000 times, or whatever, those are just numbers. It's infinite. This is really infinite. It's just a shake of some dice. Not really dice, but you know what I'm saying? It's like just putting a pattern out there and following it till you finish it. Following it through. Actually getting what you said you were going to set out to do. And that's what I've been doing in a spiritual way since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of even that. Setting out to accomplish what I could. And now the only thing that I want, that I've met back with myself in a real physical realm again, and I know it, and I'm not confused, and I'm not looking around saying the great God out there gave me this blessing. And at the same time, I know that there's a God in me and outside me that did give me this blessing, and that is this blessing that I have. Same as you. It's just you didn't get to see all those wonderful deaths and lives, because after it's over, and you know that you didn't really die, it's not a big deal that you got hurt. It's not a big deal that this happened. It's not a big deal that happened. But the emotions that you felt about that character in the movie, let's say the movie that you watch on TV, you go like, boy, I really felt bad for that character. But now I see that actor is actually just walking around doing his normal thing. Well, in the real physical world, when you die, it's the same kind of thing. But you take these emotions and feelings with you so that you can learn to develop a better being. Like in the astral world, we're trying to do this. We've been trying to do this since a long, long time ago in the physical world. But this is a happening that people need. So when I say this kind of stuff, like all the other people that say they're awake, their digits and numbers, unless they're using different ones than I do, unless they've never seen 0 through 9, or they've never seen A through Z, or they've never seen periods, dots, slashes, decimals, division symbols, and all that kind of stuff, then unless they're not using those same things and they don't look the same things to their eyes in this dimension, like if tomorrow the next person I talk to says, what the hell's a 2? What the hell's a G? What the hell's a 17? If that happened, that's the only way that I could be crazy. But if we're using the numbers, letters, and figures that we seem to think geniuses figure math out and science out on, which I love them too, they're just playing their role that I made for them. And if they're doing that, then great. But if they're using the same symbols that I'm using, then I'm God. And you are too, but Dan Alexander was meant to find it. And you're not supposed to be jealous of him for it. That's something now that you have to work on. So if people try to kill me, that's because they can't work on the fact that I'm telling them the truth, and maybe they either won't even let me tell them and want to hurt me, or I tell them and they get jealous and they want to hurt me, or they just can't fathom it to its fullest degree and they don't want to. It scares them to think that they're actually a spirit in a body. When they really feel it, then they're like, oh, well, I already know I'm just a spirit in a body. I know that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and then they'll say it. But when they know that that's all they've ever been, and it just piles on, and they feel all of it. All of it is a memory in the back of your mind. And you can look up in your mind what you did in the year, the last 15 times ago when we were at, 20 BC. You could look that up in your brain. And it's literally something that you would do like in a comfortable sleep state because it's faster. You don't have anything obstructing your thinking, your actual nervous system, your circuitry that's going on inside the body that saves that memory. And when you eat clean foods and clean waters, you're clean. When you have unclean foods and chemicals and stuff like that, you're not. And you're all over the place. And all those sound echoes, those little life echoes are bouncing around in your cells, just driving them nuts, not knowing how to stay calm. If there's 5 people in a car and one person's sitting there really serene and silent and peaceful, and everyone else is going, ah, ah, jumping around and making noise and jumping around and making noise and even bumping that person, even though they're trying to stay still, you're not going to be able to concentrate the way you want to. Until you train yourself extremely in that situation. But most people don't train their minds at all. At all. They have their minds trained. And they thought they trained their mind because they studied something that someone else gave them to learn. And their whole life they did that. So now at whatever age they're at, they're like, how am I supposed to not do that then? It's like, this is the fun part. We can actually turn the world around and work together with the people we hated because they'll love us too. And they'll be like, holy shit, I can't believe I was that much of a bad guy, but I really wasn't a bad guy. I wasn't trying to be. It's just the way that the world was with money and symbols and digits and the heart that I am, not the body that I am, the heart and the spirit that I am. Meant for this to all happen the way it's happening. So if people have to die more, that's okay. It's happened many times, and it's nothing discrediting to any of the people that die. I love them, and I don't want them to get hurt. But what we need is, in order to heal ourselves, we as one have to start being brave enough to say the truth and brave enough to do the right things. And when we do that, my friends, you will then see that everyone that you thought was this jerk really has a soft side. They have a family they go home to. You ever see somebody be like, oh, sweetie, I'll see you later, and then go out and be like, and I'm going to go bust these jerks. And it's just our brains switching around nervous systems, It's like we don't understand that those are all just waves. And yes, there's a present time, but there, yes, of course, was a past. We've seen the past. So the past does exist in a physical world. The memories do exist. That's what actually exists. Your body doesn't exist. Your memories exist. Time is thought. Thought becomes form. Form becomes the way it is through heat and cold and vibrational movement. That vibrational movement holds its energy. If it's rowdy energy, when it starts to move, it'll move a little faster. It'll move around all like sporadically. If it's the calm, serene energy, it'll move slowly, serenely, and symmetrically. And we started doing that by focusing on certain things. And the more we focused on those certain things, we built super symmetrical buildings with really accurate, corners and edges. Yeah, because we focused on something that we didn't necessarily have to do. We could have got to that point and been like, great, now we can do this together with everybody. But instead, we war. And we want to be against others because we just don't understand. Over in other countries, they're eating insects and bugs. And you guess what kinds of experiences you get in your body that way. On a little tiny level, your cellular activity is doing what bugs do. That's why you see people like that eat bugs and crickets and stuff like that over in Asia and stuff like that. They're really kind and gentle and very, soft and flowing like crickets and bugs because they eat them. They eat them. And to the same effect, I don't want to go into what happens and what's going on with people that are eating people and children and stuff like that. I'm not going to say who, but they do that because it gives them power. It's not just a mental thing. It's the memories of those cells. You literally, by eating cells, you eat souls. Literally every time. Everything you eat is a little mini soul. A cell is a little mini soul. A soul is a little mini piece of the sun. So every cell is a little piece of the sun that was once water, that gathered some dust, that gathered something, that was once atom before you added anything to it, before AM, before you added anything to it. Now you added something to it, and it's still Eve. It hasn't moved anywhere. It's just EVE. It's balancing. But as soon as you add the two together, they become even. They moved once and they stabilized again. Bam. Now Adam and Eve become advent and even. And they are stable now. And you're adding to it. You're like, here, we're ready to go. And that is how creation starts. There's light dimensions of how that started, but on the earth dimension of physical world, that's how it started. Heat, moisture, friction, causing binding, circling, swirling, spinning, ringing, lighting into forming into thinking of form into more lighting and movement, because now they have different ways to think of moving their lighting. Now they're vibrating, they're going all over, bouncing back and forth, dancing like lights, basically. Oh yeah, that's true, it is. Spirits could dance in the lights. We did become dragons. We did all that stuff. But at that point in time, we were smaller and other things were smaller, and the bigger things looked like dragons. The bigger things looked like this. And guess what? We do expand, and everything else is expanding, so the other planets have those memories too. And all that memory that's there, when we worry about stuff where when we get close to another one, think about when one team goes to the other team's place, they get ready for battle. And if the other one comes here, we're going to beat them. So on the same thing, in an astronomical level, those rocks that are coming here hold memory. Just like this earth isn't a dead rock. It holds memory and grows and has water, and it's great. And those places have water, and they have memory, okay? They're just dormant, because the life that walked around on it that seemed physical, that is also it just dried up. We're human beings. We can dry up. We do. All those dry planets that we see were once us. And we're just dried up because we used all the heat from the planet. And then by using all that heat, we caused either the sun to get too hot or the cold to get too cold. You have to have a balance. You do. You have to have a balance of all the elements on an earthly scale. And we're really out of balance. And once we do that, we will be a healed earth. I'm not saying this to sound cool. I'm saying this so the world can actually be healed and put this into action. But people are like, I don't want to do that, because they don't believe that everything can go to shit. And it would be each individual fault who doesn't start making steps towards it. Because yes, as this person, you can die. Things can happen and you can just die. A big fiery ball can hit this earth and you can die from this body. But you don't die in your spiritual state. And if you die in fear, you all of a sudden get in that fluttery, jittery, bouncing around mode again. And then when you die in fear, your spirit breaks into this thing that's all jittery and scared. And all those vibrations go into a different form than you wanted them to. Like when you go to try out for something and you're nervous, you're not yourself. And you call it get yourself together. Well, why do you call it that? Because if you can keep yourself together, which is really just the you inside, stabilized enough to keep the you outside stabilized enough, well then, once you can do that, you can do good. And right now, I'm so stable on the inside that I act and I say and I do exactly what I'm saying, but it sounds so sugar-coated and pussy. I don't mean to use those words, but I know that that's what it sounds like, because I'm like, love everyone and love everything. I've been them. And when I say that, I'm not joking, and people just cannot feel it in their hearts yet. I know they will. They just have to be introduced to love. People have to show them how much they really care, without saying, dream about fantastic cars and jets and houses. The more gas we take out of the earth and burn up, the more it's drying. The more it will give us more water back to replace as much as we use from its body system, because it needs to replace its blood. We cause the temperature. We cause the weather. We cause everything on here. We're the bacteria that's doing this to the earth. And the animals are out of line because they're scared of us. And then because they're scared of us, they're scared of each other. And they attack each other because they're just scared. We work on us. We work on nature. We work on wildlife. And we save Earth. That is what God says to me, through me, and as me. And I can't stop this now, because it's too true and it's too real and it's too meaningful. The world needs this now more than it ever has, and I'm the only one who actually knows that to be a fact. Now, how would you like that scenario to be your life? When people in business suits are looked at as something more important than the livingness that is you, that is the livingness that is all the people you see suffering. How do you think that feels? If you really understand it, instead of just you and your poor little, I don't have enough money to pay my bills. I've been through so much more than my parents, my brother, everybody. I've been through so much more because I have merged with the one. And I am the one. You can't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, because I can tell you so much it will scare you. And I don't want to do that. Why would I want to do that? It's scary. It's really deep and dark and scary. And holy shit, can you believe that that's real? Yeah. But right now there's even scarier, worse shit happening right in front of our faces, and we're allowing it. And it's going to cause the scary shit that I already know that will happen if we don't stop to happen. And the only thing we can do is stop letting people tell us how to live our lives. No more government. There is no more government. And nothing against them. We're not trying to fight them. They just don't own us. No more money. And not because we don't know how to use it or because it's not convenient, but because we've lost our love to each other over some fucking fake valued paper and some fake valued digits. They're all imaginary. When you're a millionaire, why do you think it goes from M-I-L-L-I-O-N and you add A-I-R-E? Because it was milled in the fucking air. Excuse my language, but it was. Millionaire with an E on the end, saying everybody else, it's an expression. I'm a millionaire. This money isn't even real, and it's laughing in my face, and I get to look at the presidents that were those people who were just misran by the world itself. None of them were bad presidents. They were all great people who liked great dinners and had great fancy feasts and had hard times and had families and had pets and had everything that you could shake a stick at and more. And I was there. I was them, their families, and they were great. I was them and their enemies, and they were horrible. And I was also their enemies. And I've done it. And this is my reality. And I have people that come out and say, the Great Awakening is happening. 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 Yes, the Great Awakening is happening. And that's great, especially if they believe it. But then they're married. And then they're doing this and whatever. And if you stay married to one person, you're actually linking yourself to a tied down situation on an even more intimate level than a government. It's your everyday life lock. You can't do this because this person's keeping you in check. When you are in check and you do love everyone, you can't love one person. That person would want you to be only theirs, and that takes you one step away from what God really is. If you get what I'm saying, God is all things. You can't favor one more than the other. You can love all. If sex happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Safety is important. Those aren't stupid things. Those are things that we have just somehow forgotten as a bunch of blind people. We were coming from the dark, and just because our skins are different pigments, we're all coming out of the dark into the light. Not just one of us. It wasn't just me. I was here to lead the way. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm not taking any credit other than it happened in my body, because you're coming with me and you're me too. So I'm leading the way to ourself. And as ridiculous as that sounds, it sounds nothing but perfect to me. It sounds like the only thing the world has needed, someone who can actually talk correctly. Sometimes I may stutter because I'm excited, because I'm still using my body. I'm still Dan. But at the same time, I'm here and not here. I'm completely here and not here at the same time. So that's why sometimes when someone will be like, "Did you stumbled up a math problem, man? You can't be all that smart." But I don't stumble up simple math problems, but sometimes it'll just be there's so much intensity in my head going on from all the things that I've experienced that I don't care. Math is just math. when it comes to just figuring out what's 17 plus 50. You know what I mean? Like, 67. You know what I mean? Like, but if it takes me a second, why didn't you say it right off the top of your head like a calculator? Huh? It's not a competition, man. There is no rush when there is no time. You think trees care about taking much time? That's what the Ents said when we were writing Lord of the Rings. That's what the Ents said. That's what they all said. They do talk. You were them. And when you put yourself in their place, you can actually hear them. When you put yourself in your heart place, it will take you back. It will take you forward. It will show you where the heart of our world is. It will show you where the heart of the universe is and what it sees through us. And then we can help fix what we want through us, not what we want through ourself, but ourselves together. Ours, elves. We are time beings. We are hue managers, colored people, light workers. We're all of those. Each one of us is an archangel. Each one of us. Because each one of us, we may have come from reptilian backgrounds or the bogs or the bayous. It just expands a little bit bigger, and we're just people who evolved from that. And all those other rocks, before they moved away, particles of dust landed mixed with our water. And we called them Martians or aliens, just like we called Chinese people or Russian people in America aliens because they're illegals. No, they're not. A sick bird that just doesn't belong in your area. Like, what's this bird doing here? An illegal. What's this illegal doing here? It's a sick thing. It doesn't belong here. It's not legal. It's not eagle. It's not regal. Because it doesn't belong here. We don't know what this is. It's an alien. Yep, alien. That's all. A foreign object, a foreign bacteria, an alien. Anything that is alive in this whole galaxy is one. I want to save our Earth because if we save our Earth body, we can actually communicate with other planetary bodies much easier. And once they see that we cleared ourselves up, and they can tell because they can see us and they understand. They're small and little and they're growing and developing just like us. But they came from the same merging spot. And at that point, there was a lot of havoc and a lot of fear and a lot of anger and a lot of pain and a lot of destruction. And in those places, when we start getting closer in our orbits to those places, they do launch out little things to check on us. They do launch out these and that, just like we can launch things out into space. Like, space isn't the end of our universe. Space is, this is just our little landing dock. Earth is our landing dock. And when you die, you're on the other side where there is none of it. You can only see the whole galaxy because you have eyes. You can only think of the whole cosmic idea as the way you do because you have a brain as a human being. When you're in a different body, you don't look like this at all. You don't see like this at all. Dogs don't see like us. We don't look like this to a dog. We can't imagine it because we look at a TV screen and then we try to watch from a dog's eye view from a camera and it looks like us. That's not what we look like to a dog. It isn't. No matter how many people will be like, well, we can simulate it. We can do it. No, you're using your ideas of your human eye, and your invisible spiritual sense is not tuned in enough. And I know this because this is the first time anyone's ever said it up to this point in time on this earth. But like those people, they're doing great. They're trying. They're using their imagination and creativity to explore the human mind, to wake up possibilities in people. But when it comes to the violence to each other, and especially the overuse of oil, oil is killing the earth. And we're burning it up and toxifying it on top of it. Now think about if you were bleeding and you threw it up in the air, and say, this is different because our blood doesn't do this, but if you threw it up in the air and it dried and then fell back down on you all crusty, is that what you want? No. We do that. Volcanoes do that naturally. Now we dig it up and take them out from the ground, and we cause our problems. Volcanoes cause land. If we can have a balance of the fluids we use from the ground, like the water. We can use a balance of things like that because we're going back and forth with everything. And oil is more of the blood of the soil because water is clear, and we see water comes from the air. That's why we're allowed to have water. So people are like, because everything's alive, just like people that say, if you can't eat animals, then you can't eat plants. Well, animals are roaming and they're walking and they're moving. Plants aren't, They do it slower. They have different kinds of leaves and different kinds of skins. They're supposed to bind with the things that eat them. And we take care of them. And we only eat their fruits and we only eat their leaves when necessary. We don't chop down the mother stalk. The tree is a tree. And it's like, here you go. You can have one of my hairs. Here you go. I happen to be a cool kind of being that grows these bodies on me. And I can give them away as either seeds, because just like you have, reproduction seeds in your body, and it sounds gross to us because we've perverted the whole idea of sex, that those seeds create another life. They really do. Everything creates another life. If you sneeze over your loaf of bread and leave it sit there for a week in the warmth, those spots you sneezed on, you notice, will have more things on them than the spots you didn't. That's how magical our world is. We're that much of creators, we just don't pay attention. And since I see every minute detail, I may not be able to say it all the time to everybody because I don't want to sit around pointing out the little minute details that don't matter and that just fascinate people when the world is falling apart and we're allowing people to be ran down, starved, and hurt so that we can enjoy money, cars, and television. And that's just a mockery of the living spirit. And God wants me to do this. There's no other choice. So I'm looking for people who really, really want to make this movement happen because it is here. It's not coming. It's not on its way. It's here.